Hello, welcome to United Auto Workers Watch. Today's episode focuses on the Monitor's 13th status report, which was released last Friday, November the 14th. I'm Merrick Masters, a professor of business emeritus, commentator, podcaster, and author. You can find me at my YouTube channel. Today is Friday, November 21st, 2025. The 13th status report covers the progress the UAW has made in making necessary structural reforms for a sustainable ethics and compliance program. It also talks about the areas where it needs to do more work, and there are certain neglected areas that need to be focused on, particularly dealing with the climate of fear and retaliation that still exists within the UAW. However, the Monitor said that there is a clear path for the union to put in place the necessary structural elements for lasting reforms if they make the necessary preceding cultural reforms. The structural reforms in terms of key findings are essential to the union's ethics and compliance program, and they include such things as creating a compliance department and hiring a compliance director. Although there have been problems with the performance of the compliance director that resulted in her withdrawal from office that have clouded the union's reputation in this regard. As the Monitor said, structural reforms are only half of the necessary equation for fostering a program of reform that is effective and sufficient in deterring corruption. The UAW needs to foster a culture of compliance. The Monitor says that the reality is stark. The current prioritization of political infighting and settling personal grievances over meaningful reform are stalling important improvement and undermining good faith attempts to complete the necessary compliance structure. Recent experience, as it reviews in this report, shows this to be true. I might add that there is a fine line the Monitor is trying to walk here about the extent to which they can recommend changes in the internal operations of the union, which is by nature a political institution, and at the same time trying to create a climate that promotes the deterrence of corruption. This is a fine line. I think the Monitor has been very circumspect so far in how he has been walking this line, but I would always remind the importance of keeping an eye out that there is a line and that the union's autonomy to function independently needs to be preserved even during this time period of partial control by the Monitor. The key findings continued. The diminished stature of the compliance department, which was the central issue in the culture rife with division that is cited by the Monitor, has, according to the Monitor, stunted the union's progress in implementing compliance reform. These are detailed considerably in the report itself. The Monitor shows, among other actions, the President's office under President Fain. The personnel in that office rewrote large portions of the supposedly independent special compliance report and inserted new charges and inflammatory allegations that the compliance director later falsely presented to the International Executive Board as the results of an assertedly independent and objective investigation into Secretary-Treasurer Mock's activities. To combat these cultural issues, the Monitor's report goes on to say, the union established a culture committee intended to help the union finally turn the page on its cultural challenges. But here too, the monitor finds that the impact of the potentially significant structural reform has been blunted by a culture that does not adequately value the primacy of ethical reform, non-retaliation, and transparency. The monitor goes on to say that although the monitor had requested to attend the Culture Committee meetings so that he could best support its efforts to provide accountability through transparency, that request was rejected first by the committee itself and later by the union's International Executive Board. The monitor notes in the report that the union has made considerable progress in such areas as procurement policy, formalizing its hiring processes, commitment to biannual all-staff meetings, its community action program and political action committee policy, its modernization of IT working group, and internal audit, which completed all of its 2024 audit reports in August, covering a range of topics, including risk areas previously identified by the monitor. The monitor's recommendations for improving the overall culture of the organization include restoring the duties that were improperly removed from the jurisdiction of the Secretary-Treasurer, hiring a new and truly independent and transparent Compliance Department Director, hiring a new ethics officer, allowing the monitor to participate more fully in the Culture Committee, and creating a solid reporting line for internal audit to the International Executive Board, including reporting directly to the International Executive Board the results of internal audits, annual risk assessment, and recommended annual audit plan. The monitor also recommends that in order to better promote the independence of the Compliance Department, the union should move the Compliance Department out of the President's office and establish a direct reporting line to the International Executive Board. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Stay tuned for more updates on the UAW. Thank you and have a good day.